Our next story tonight comes from the United States, from the state of Texas. It's a story of desperation and injustice, how poverty forces people to wager anything, sometimes even their own life. Let me tell you what happened in Texas. On Monday, a city official in San Antonio heard cries from an abandoned truck. It was parked in the middle of nowhere. There was no driver, no indications that anybody was around. All they heard were cries from inside. So emergency responders were called to the scene. When they opened the truck, this is what they saw. Stacks of dead bodies inside. More than 40 people were counted at the scene. 40 bodies. How did they end up in the truck? Because they were being smuggled. Migrants from Latin America are often sneaked into the US. If they're lucky, they make it alive. If not, this happens. There was no water inside the truck, no air conditioning, no ventilation, and these migrants were packed inside with no driver. Eventually, most of them died. 22 of the victims were Mexicans, 7 were from Guatemala, and 2 were Hondurans. 16 survivors were also found inside the truck, but their condition was almost near death. Listen to what the first responder had to say.
Patients that we saw were hot to the touch. They were suffering from heat stroke, heat exhaustion. No signs of water in the vehicle. It was a refrigerated tractor trailer, but there was no visible working AC unit on that rig.
Too hot to touch. Can you imagine that? Being stuck inside a truck for hours without water or air. Why did these migrants do it? Why did they agree to being smuggled across? Because for many of them, it's the better option. These migrants are fleeing Central and South America. Back home, there is nothing for them. No jobs, no hospitals, no social security. So they set off to the United States, to the so-called land of freedom. And to reach the US, they're willing to take any risk. And this is not the first such incident. In 2017, 10 migrants were found dead inside a truck. In 2003, 17 were found dead inside a car. 17 people in a car. Both incidents were reported in Texas. Now, immigration is a sensitive issue in the US, and these numbers should tell you why. In the month of May, 239,000 undocumented migrants were detained in the United States. 239,000. Last year, 650 migrants died crossing the US border. And what is the US doing about it? Nothing. They're busy blaming each other. The Republicans blame Joe Biden's open border policy. They say it is encouraging more migrants to come. The Democrats blame Donald Trump's immigration regime. They say legal migration was stopped. So people are now resorting to illegal means. And I know what many of you are thinking. How is this America's fault? Why should they rescue migrants from all over Latin America? How can they stop migrants from taking such risks? Well, it's time for a history lesson. Meddling in Latin America is Washington's favorite hobby. I've got some data for you. From 1898 to 1994, the US toppled 41 regimes in Latin America. That's 96 years and 41 coups. We did the math. The US toppled one regime every 28 months. And remember, those were the successful attempts. Who knows how many unsuccessful attempts were made? And literally no country was spared. Cuba, Puerto Rico, Panama, Nicaragua, Mexico, Haiti, Guatemala, Dominican Republic, all these countries were CIA playgrounds. In fact, Wikipedia has a special page dedicated to this. United States involvement in regime change in Latin America. That's what the page is called, and that should give you an idea. The US never permitted Latin America to prosper. First, they exploited it for commercial needs. Then, when the Cold War broke out, it was a battle for ideology. Whatever the reason, the end result was always the same: poverty and political instability. To this day, the US has refused to make amends. No reparations, no aid packages, not even an apology. So this humanitarian crisis is partly Washington's creation. The poverty, the political instability, all of it boils down to America's geopolitical tricks, as much as the situation in these respective countries, which is why they must take accountability. Either invest money to prop up Latin American economies or open their borders with a legal and safe system. I know it's expensive, But we are talking about the United States of America. They spent $6 trillion fighting wars in Asia. Surely they can spare a few billions for their own mess. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.